Good morning. My name is Bob Gordon, a dedicated member of this congregation. Looks like all of you have pretty much taken your seats already, so I don't have to tell you to do that. Please turn off your cell phones all the way off so that our sound system isn't affected. And take this opportunity to greet each other on this wonderful Sunday morning. All right. Welcome to the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. We honor you wherever you are in your spiritual path and know that there is something wonderful for each person here this morning. The words to our morning chant will be on the screen. Wait a minute, I'm losing my place here. About 10 years ago, we had a wonderful speaker for the Golden Gate Center at the Marin Center, and it was Michael Beckwith, who at the time had just published a book called Spiritual Liberation, which I read and was very impressed with at the time. But 10 years later, I reread it just this past week and found that it's a remarkable book. And I've chosen a passage to read for us. And it has a heading, Evolved People Experience Life as a Celebration Rather than a Problem to be Solved. Realize that in a state of God consciousness, problems are dissolved. Let me describe what I mean by this. When you walk into a dark room, you don't beat the darkness with a stick. You turn on the light and realize that the darkness didn't really exist. It was only an absence of light. This is what happens when we dissolve a problem. A problem is like the darkness. When we switch on the light of awareness, we see that the problem didn't really exist. It was simply an absence of the light of understanding, of discerning clarity. When we expand into a deeper level of understanding, a paradigm shift occurs that makes room for a new response to enter our awareness. What was earlier a problem is dissolved because we have aligned ourselves with our inherent luminosity, our inner light, which knows only possibilities to be discovered and activated. Problems are a human predicament, not a divine one. The words to our morning chant will be on the screen, followed by the spiritual mind treatment to be brought to us this morning by the wonderful Francine Huss. Thank you.
Okay. For those of you who haven't been here for a while, there we go. For those of you who haven't been here for a while, or those of you who are here for the first time, I want you to stand up. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you are somebody who has been here a lot or previously, and you're in the seats that you always sit in, I'm going to ask you to move. And the reason I'm doing this is this. In the science of mind, what we teach is that a changed perspective can change your life. Well, how can you possibly change your life if you won't even change your seat? So, I'm going to invite those of you who are in your traditional spot to move. If you always sit at the back, come forward. If you always sit in the front, move back. If, switch sides, whatever it might be, and then remain standing. And I'll explain to you why. So please remain standing wherever you are. Even if you're settled somewhere, please remain standing. Everybody stand up, stand up, stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Now, if you can't do that, it's okay. I understand if physical things take precedence. But the reason that we do this at the beginning of the service is because it shifts us from being spectators to being participants. When we stand up, we take our space, we become present in the room, and we're ready then to let our voices and our vibrations be shared. So most of you, I think, know this song that we're beginning with. I want you to really sing out. And what I notice at the front is that when you sing out, you are amazing. Then, when this first song finishes, we're going to go into the meditation song where it gets really quiet. So once this one is done, just go ahead and sit down and center yourself, okay? Is everybody on board with me for this? Okay, let's go.
There we go. We got
Woo!
it now.
Good.
Feel it. Do you feel it? I said, do you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you feel it again? Okay, one, two, three, four. I'm choosing heaven
today.
I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road
of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing joy today.
I'm choosing joy today.
I am walking the road of joy right now, singing, I'm choosing joy today.
Love,
I'm choosing love today.
and I'm choosing love today.
I am walking the road of love right now, singing, I'm choosing love today.
Peace.
I'm choosing peace today.
I'm choosing peace today. I am walking the road
of peace right now, singing, I'm choosing peace today.
Heaven.
I'm choosing heaven today.
I'm choosing heaven today.
I am walking the road of heaven right now, saying, I'm choosing heaven today.
I'm choosing heaven today. And I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today.
Oh, he'll.
I'm choosing heaven
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Right. Good for you. We're going to get this, aren't we?
Yeah.
Step up the morning energy and come show up here, and then we're going to go deep into our prayer center, set up the space for the practitioner, and then we can all get higher and deeper. What do you think about that? Yeah, I like that. All right. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. Let me hear you sing it. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. One more time, I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God.
I am so thankful to recognize the Spirit of God, its power and its presence all around me, in and through all of creation. That power and that presence that is right here in this room, that sits before me in each seat, reflecting back to me its love, its openness. I am one with this power. We are one with this power. There is only one speaking. There is only one listening. There is only one here. In this oneness, I speak my word, Spirit's word, and know that the power of this word knows no bounds. The power of this word may lift, inspire, transform, and heal. There is no one I know that honored and recognized the power of word more than my dear friend Janet Carol Ryan, who we honor today to celebrate her life. And though we may feel poorer by her absence, I know that truly we are richer by her presence, by all that she gave and still gives and lives even still. And through the power of this word, shifting from poorer to richer, we welcome a shift within ourselves. And so I claim for each one of us to receive a shift today, whatever is perfect for each one of us on our path. It is available now in this prayer, in the music, in the talk by our Reverend Mary, by a glance or a hug, or the kindness of each one around us. That power is here for each of us. And on behalf of all of us, I welcome it. I accept it. I give thanks for it. I release this word back to that power that inspired it. I know it is all well, it is all good. Let us be lifted. Let us be forever changed. And so it is.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. One last time, big breath. I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. Good morning. Really nice to see all of you today. So there's a phrase called follow the call, follow the calling. Pay attention to your calling. And we're all glad that Mary followed the call and showed up for us. And when each of us follow our own call inside, then everybody wins. It's really incredible how that happens. So this song is called Follow the Call. Oh, when darkness comes over you and the struggle has blocked your view and all your people are far away and your life feels like a masquerade, you've got to follow. Follow the call. You've got to follow. Follow the call. Well, every answer is usually hidden inside of a question, often forbidden. Seek direction from the wind. Trust your nature, oh, and look within. You've got to follow. Follow the call. You've got to follow. Follow the call. You've got to follow. Follow the call. You got to follow, follow. Follow the call. You've got to follow. Follow the call. Follow. Follow the call. Oh, when darkness comes over you and the struggle has blocked your view, Seek direction from the wind. Trust your nature and look within. You've got to follow. Follow the call. You've got to follow. Follow the call. Sing that with me. You've got to follow. Follow the call. You've got to follow. Follow the call. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bodie, Robin, Rick, Amanda, that sounded great. Thank you. Yay, well done. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see you all. I'm Reverend Mary Murray Shelton. I'm the senior minister here. If you're with us for the first time this morning, I want to invite our membership team up. They have a gift for you. It's just information. But we're not psychic yet, so in order to get it to you, we actually need you to give us a wave. So they're just going to bring you this packet of info if you give a wave. And inside it, you're going to find a blue card. And the blue card is a contact card. So if you fill out the, whoops, we missed one right here. There you go. Thanks, Suzanne. If you fill out the blue card and turn it in back at the membership table back there, they're going to give you a free gift, which is this little book, What Religious Science Teaches, that tells you more about our philosophy. So it's a great trade. You turn in your blue card, you get a book. So not a problem. And that way we'll let you know what's going on. If you check off on the blue card that you want to be on our email list, we'll let you know what's coming up and what's going on around here. Oh, there's no blue card in your folder? Do we have an extra blue card, Suzanne? There's Reverend Catherine. She says, of course we have an extra blue card. By the way, while she's doing that, I want to tell you something very, very important about next Sunday, which I don't want to forget in the announcement, so I'm going to tell it to you now because it has to do with Reverend Catherine. Reverend Catherine Sachs has been with us for a while now, and she has been so marvelous. And did we find it? Blue card? Blue card. That's going to come right up here. Right there. Thank you very much. And over the course of time, Reverend Catherine's life has gotten a little more complicated. She lives in the East Bay. And so it takes about 3 hours to do anything for Global Heart because she's coming from the East Bay and trying to go back. Home situation is a little bit more complicated. So reluctantly, Reverend Catherine has let us know that she's only going to be with us till the end of this month. And so next Sunday, we're going to honor her. And I want you to be here for that. So Reverend Catherine, would you stand up so we can just acknowledge you right now? She has been such a gift to us, and it's really hard to let her go. And so we're just saying so long, not really farewell. We're expecting the universe is going to bring her back to us. So this year, Centers for Spiritual Living is celebrating 100 years of science of mind. It's been 100 years since our founder, Ernest Holmes, published his first book. And so each month, many of our centers are working on the similar themes. And this month's theme is our form of prayer, which is called spiritual mind treatment. And the way that I couched this was, spiritual mind treatment, the technique and the fire. So with that in mind, You know how people who compose music have to understand the basics of how to do music in order to compose it at all. You have to know the rules before you can break them, and you have to develop some facility with it before it's easy to do. You play a lot of scales if you're playing the piano, or I don't know what you do if you're doing other instruments, if it's scales or not, but you have to practice, you have to learn the form, you have to follow the guidelines and practice. And then when it becomes easier, the passion starts to really flow with it, and you feel the fire, which is the movement of the energy, of the feeling, the surrender, the flow, the embodiment of the music. So it's almost like it plays you. So the technique is something you learn. The fire is something you have to experience, right? So this is what we're talking about in our form of prayer. It can feel a little awkward at the beginning as you're learning it and practicing it, and sometimes people complain about that. And then eventually the important part becomes the feeling that you're wanting to cultivate and move toward in the prayer. So just like writing music, you construct your prayer out of words. So the lyrics of a song require words. And some of you may know the famous song, April in Paris. I know the name of it. I don't think I know any of the words to it anyway, but April in Paris. It sounds romantic and lovely and everything. The composer was Vernon Duke, and the lyricist was E.Y. Hartberg. Well, a friend of Vernon Duke's went to Paris in April inspired by the song, and the weather was horrible, disastrous. And so when he came back, he told Duke that. And Duke said, well, whatever possessed you to go to Paris in April? The weather in Paris is always horrible in April. And he was astonished, his friend, and he said, I went in April because of your song. And Duke said, oh, well, we really meant May, but the rhythm required 2 syllables. So May in Paris didn't work quite as well. So it became April in Paris, unfortunately for his friend who didn't realize that. So when we're looking at the technique and the fire, sometimes the technique requires that the words that we choose work better for us than other words that somebody else might use. So this is what I'm talking about today. Words that create and uncreate the world. Words of power. Words of power are important when we're doing treatment because some words seem to have more power than others. Okay, we went through those. So some words seem to have more power than others. This little fellow has a whole bunch of letters, like in a balloon with a string that goes down to the ground here. But the letters are not assembled into any kind of word yet. So why do some words have more power than others? For some of us, certain words are more appealing than others. If you're talking about abundance or prosperity or opulence or wealth or plenty or plethora, which an English teacher once let me know was actually a painful overabundance. So I learned about that word. But the word that we use when we're doing a prayer that has to do with welcoming more of something into our lives, the words that we choose are important because the words have power. It's also important that the words be specific to what we want. I came across this quote by David Jeremiah, who was interestingly an American fundamentalist. He said this, how often have we prayed something like, oh Lord, be with Cousin Billy now in a special way? Have we stopped considering what it is we're requesting? Imagine that you're a parent who is preparing to leave your children with a babysitter. Would you dream of saying, oh, Betsy, I ask you to be with the children tonight in a special way? Of course not. You would say, Betsy, the kids need to be in bed by 9 p.m. They can have one snack before their baths, and please make sure they finish their homework. You can reach us at this number if there's any problem. Any questions before we go? We are very specific with our requests and instructions to our babysitters. We want them to know specifics. It should be no different with prayer. What happens when we're specific in our prayer is that we're not doing anything to God really at all, but what we're doing is we're becoming much clearer in our own consciousness and awareness of the feeling of what it is that we're inviting in, of what it is we want to be experiencing. So what we want to do with our words is paint a picture and a feeling for ourselves. The feeling becomes as important, and sometimes more so, than the image or the picture, because as we know, sometimes spirit is a little squirrely, and what shows up doesn't quite look like what we expected, but it fits us and suits the feeling we were going for completely. Are you with me here? You know what I mean? Great, okay. So specific. Also, it is important as we move toward the fire part of it that there's feeling, emotion involved in it. What is the feeling we want to have or think we might have when this, whatever it is we're praying for, appears in our lives? Are we going to feel grateful? Are we going to feel joyous, relief, confident, sexy? What are we going to feel? What is it we want to feel? And the feeling that we want is very important to get a grip on, because then in the prayer, we begin to embody the feeling even before the form shows up. So the feeling, the emotion is important. The imagery is important. What does it look like? When we do visioning, we say, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Because that's an important part of drawing that experience to us. We become then the magnetic vibration for it. And it can't help but find its way to what matches it. And then the power of repetition. I talked about this last week. That repetition, anything we repeat, physically, verbally, or even with thought, actually changes the geography in the brain, because it makes the neural pathways along that route deeper and more powerful. They operate faster. So the more we repeat something, the easier it is to do it, or to think it, or to say it. And so that's why tongue twisters work when you practice them a lot, because the brain actually develops a whole geography to allow you to do it. So you can say something, now let's see if I can even do this morning, because I haven't practiced it today, but you can say something like, Betty bought a butter, but she said this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But if I buy a bit of butter better than my bitter butter, and I put it in my batter, it will make my batter better. So she bought a bit of butter better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and her batter was not bitter. So it was better Betty bought a bit of better butter. Yeah. I can do that without passing out because I've done it about 7,000 times. And the trick to it with any tongue twister is you start very slowly. And you say every word completely correctly so that you begin to get the pattern in your mouth and in your brain. And then you gradually begin to speed up until you can do it faster and faster without making mistakes. If you make a mistake, then you slow down a little bit. So with anything else we're learning how to do, repetition is magic. It's magic. It makes a huge difference. And the last thing is, as Ernest Holmes said, trained consciousness is more powerful than untrained consciousness. So when we want to become more powerful with our prayer, learning how to pray, not what to pray for, but learning how to pray is very powerful in becoming more effective in all of these things. Ernest Holmes, our founder, talks about the power of words this way. He says, we should sense that back of the word which we speak is the power of the universe surging to express itself. Now, I said a couple of weeks ago when I first started talking about prayer that when we pray, we're not talking about the problem to God. We start with God. What are the qualities of God that we want to embrace in this prayer? And then we bring our awareness to the fact that those qualities of God are also what we're made from, because the presence that overflows into all being is the essence of everything, including us. So when we speak our word, and we're moving then into the affirmations, the positive statements of what we want to experience, we state those in the present like they're happening now. And if we use denials, which I'm also talking about today, we do those sparingly. So I'll talk about those two things in just a second. But when Ernest Holmes talks about this, he says, we should sense that back of the word which we speak is the power of the universe surging through us to express itself. We should speak the word consciously, knowing that it is law. So he also says in another place, speak your word with authority. Now, how can we speak our word with authority when we're declaring something is that factually isn't there yet? Well, we speak our word with authority because in the spiritual realm, all things exist. So we're speaking the spiritual truth of it into being. Does that make sense? Now, we must then use our word the rest of the time when we're in the world with a certain amount of caution and awareness, because the better we get at this, the more powerful the words are when we speak them, even when we're not intending to be in prayer. So as Don Miguel Ruiz says, be impeccable with your word. In other words, don't gossip or speak evil of others. When you make a commitment, keep it. Tell the truth. Those are the things he's talking about in the 4 agreements. The word is creative. The word in John 1, verse 1, he says, and usually, traditionally, from a Christian perspective, the word, in this case, is Jesus. But I think the creative word is God's overflow into beingness, that all of us are the word, and the law is the word. So, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. In other words, there's no separation between the consciousness of creation and its activity and what is created. Those things are all one. Am I still on the planet with you here? Are you with me? Okay, this is good. All right. So now I'm going to talk about affirmations and denials in prayer, because we use them both. And I'll explain a little more about denial in a minute, because denial gets a bad rap, and for good reasons. But first of all, affirmations. So affirmations are positive statements of what we are not yet experiencing, but we want to be experiencing. They are positive statements in the present. They're framed in the present tense as if they're happening right now. And sometimes if they're too powerful to say, just like this, I can do hard things, we can soften them a little bit and use an affirmation that's like, I'm willing to do hard things. Or I'm beginning to believe I can do hard things. Those are also affirmations. So with an affirmation, we want to use those liberally, using the idea of juicy words that are meaningful to us, that draw images and feelings that we can repeat and learn about and go more deeply into. And so we want to use those liberally. All of the kinds of affirmations that we use in the middle of our treatment, when we're doing a treatment for ourselves, are about us. Even if our treatment is to get along better with somebody else, we're not saying what they need to be. We're saying what we want to be in this. So I am, I know, I claim, I declare, I accept, I enjoy, I celebrate, I welcome, I am willing. All those things, those are affirmations. And you'll find many, many, many of them in Ernest Holmes' books. Many, many positive affirmations. If I say, I declare and know that I am grounded and confident, okay, step forward into that one. I declare and know that I'm grounded and confident. Say that with me. I declare and know that I am grounded and confident. Okay, now that's an affirmation. When we use affirmations, if what we're dealing with is too challenging or too, it's so difficult that we feel like when we say the affirmation, the voice in our head goes, oh, right, yeah. And it's so big that we need to do something to unplug from that belief that has us, that's got a hold of us. And sometimes a distraction is necessary. This is what denial is for, really. It is to say to that which has a grip on us, oh, no, you don't. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking over here. So this is a story. This is a Buddhist story that was told by Ringu Tulku Rinpoche, this man here. This is his story. He says there's a story about a princess who had a small eye problem that she felt was really bad. Being the king's daughter, she was rather spoiled and kept crying all the time. When the doctors wanted to apply medicine, she would invariably refuse any medical treatment and kept touching the sore spot on her eye. In this way, it became worse and worse. So this is like any problem we have that we obsess over, yes? Until finally the king proclaimed a large reward for whoever could cure his daughter. And after some time, a man arrived who claimed to be a famous physician, but actually was not even a doctor. He declared that he could definitely cure the princess and was admitted to her chamber. And after he had examined her, he exclaimed, "Oh, I'm so sorry." "What is it?" the princess inquired. The doctor said, "There's nothing much wrong with your eye, but there is something else that's really serious." The princess was alarmed. What on earth is so serious? He hesitated and refused to tell her, saying he could not speak without the king's permission. When the king arrived, the doctor was still reluctant to reveal his findings. And finally, the king commanded, "Tell us what is wrong. Whatever it is, you have to tell us." At last, the doctor said, "Well, the eye will get better within a few days. That's no problem. The big problem is that the princess will grow a tail which will become at least 9 fathoms long. It may start growing very soon. If she can detect it the first moment that it appears, I might be able to prevent it from growing." At this news, everyone was deeply concerned. And the princess, what did she do? She stayed in bed night and day, directing all her attention to detecting when the tail might appear. And thus, after a few days, her eye got well. This is the way that denials work. We move our attention. We address it directly. The man examined her, looked at her eye. We address it directly, and then we shift the focus back to what it is that we want. So what we want to do with denials is use them sparingly. We sandwich them between affirmations. So a lot of affirmations, fewer denials, because you've heard the phrase, "Methinks he doth protest too much." Methinks he doth protest too much. When you deny something, its power or existence too emphatically, when you repeat it too much, you actually make it more real and cement it into place. So that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is use an affirmation that is couched then, or a denial that is sandwiched in between affirmations. So the affirmation that we said, "I declare and know that I am grounded and confident." So when I was 10 years old, I was at the state fair doing a demonstration on how to do cooked rhubarb. And it was the first time I'd ever done this kind of a public address. I mean, I had a microphone and everything. And I remember while I was doing this demonstration that I had practiced again and again and again, I was so nervous that my legs were shaking so much, I was afraid they would see under the table how badly my legs were shaking. But I did what I had practiced, and I survived. That's like doing the denial in the midst of it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So you can use a denial that says, "Fear has no power over me." Fear, not, no, never, those are words that show up sometimes in denials. That's how you recognize them sometimes. They're words that take the juice away from something. So notice I'm not saying I'm not afraid. Because obviously, if I say I'm not afraid while I'm feeling afraid, I feel all the more afraid because I know I feel afraid. But if I say, "Fear has no power over me," then I conclude with the affirmation, I can feel afraid and still be effective, brilliant, successful. which means I have permission to feel fearful, but I don't have to let it destroy my experience or weaken me in any way. Does this make sense? So what I'm doing, if I feel very afraid, then just saying in my prayer, I declare, so God is all there is, God is fully available and omnipotent and has no worries or needs whatsoever, and I am made of that. Therefore, I am whole and complete, and I am powerful, and then I declare and know that I am grounded and confident. Meanwhile, I'm feeling trepidation, so I say, fear has no power over me. I can feel afraid and still be effective, brilliant, and successful. Does that make sense? So that's how you use a denial. You use it to remove the power of the thing when it really has a strong grip on you, and you want to use them sparingly. We know that words have power. Henri Nouwen said, "Why is it so important that you are with God and God alone on the mountaintop?" In your prayer, he's talking about. It's important because it's the place in which you can listen to the voice of the one who calls you the beloved. To pray is to listen to the one who calls you my beloved daughter, my beloved son, my beloved child. To pray is to let that voice speak to your center, to the center of your being, to your guts, and let that voice resound in your whole being. That's what the first two steps of treatment are about. Then when that voice resounds in your whole being, when you speak the central part of the prayer, where you're declaring the spiritual truth, you're speaking from that voice, resonant within you, the voice of the one. Does this make sense? This is yes, this is yeah. Okay, and so I want to conclude with a story for you this morning. You know, we don't often, Amanda and I were just talking this morning about a place that we used to live where on our drive the back way home, we went by a house where the woman had created a beautiful garden. It was gorgeous at every single time of year, and it gave us joy every time we saw it, week after week, month after month, year after year. And eventually, either the house was sold or the lady died. I don't know which. But it was obvious that the garden was going into disrepair. And we were saying this morning, as we were driving down, it would have been good if she had known how much joy she gave to everybody who drove by. It's too bad we never stopped to tell her, because we saw her in the garden many times. So we sometimes don't realize, even though others may think we do, the power that an acknowledgement like that can have. So this story is sort of in that vein. As a professional speaker, I often bring blue ribbons to use at my talks, even though I don't always get to use them. At one particular meeting, I demonstrated the blue ribbon ceremony with the group and then invited each person in the group to acknowledge the person they were with. Afterward, a woman tearfully shared that her husband had looked right into her eyes and told her, for the first time in their 25 years of marriage, that she was beautiful and that he was glad she had chosen him as her husband. She went on to say that he even told her that she was a wonderful cook and had taken such good care of him in their home. Lastly, he told her how very much he had loved her all these years. Everyone in the room listened on when she explained that her husband was a man of very few words. Harry is the type who, if I asked, "Do you love me?" could only reply, "Would I be here if I didn't love you?" It was truly a moving, it's kind of like that song in Fiddler on the Roof, where Fiddler says to his wife, "Do you love me?" She says, "Do I what?" It was truly a moving evening, once again reminding me of the power and the magic of the blue ribbon. 6 months later, I stopped by to visit a friend whom I hadn't seen in a long time. We chatted for a bit in her shop, and just as I was about to leave, another woman came through the door, and my friend said to me, "Oh, Rita, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Betty. She works for me part-time. Betty, this is Rita Kahn, a longtime friend of mine." Betty looked at me and turned white. "Oh my God," she exclaimed. "I don't believe it. I've been looking for you for months. I don't know if you remember my husband and me. We were first-time guests at an organization where you spoke 6 months ago. You taught us the Who I Am Makes a Difference blue ribbon ceremony. After my husband and I acknowledged each other, I shared in front of the group that my husband, who hardly ever communicated affectionately, told me how much he loved me and was so grateful and glad that I had chosen him as my husband. Well, of course, I smiled and nodded. Of course, how could I forget that evening or his sharing? He was so genuine and sweet when he stood next to you and thanked me for giving him the opportunity to declare his love for you in front of everyone. I speak to groups and organizations all over the country, and I don't always get to do the blue ribbon ceremony. But for some reason that night, I was inspired to bring the ribbons along and use them. Your husband's sincerity left an impact on me that I have not forgotten. Well, she said, I've been wanting to find you to thank you for that evening and the blue ribbon experience. You see, my husband died of a heart attack the very next day. Now, I keep that ribbon on my dresser where I can see it every day. I guess I always knew he loved me, but hearing him say it in front of everyone that night was so special. My God, if you had never done that blue ribbon ceremony, I might have wondered the rest of my life if I had really made a difference to Harry. Now, every time I look at that ribbon, it reminds me of Harry's face, his smile, and his last words of love. The words we speak are powerful. They have a powerful creative impact on us, on the creative law, and on others. We want to be impeccable with our word, and when we pray, we want to speak our word with authority because our words matter. Namaste. Thank you. All right. Now let's take that into prayer right now. So I invite you to put your hands over your heart. Feel your own heartbeat. Take a deep breath. Feel a moment of gratitude for this body temple that houses you, for all the pleasure that it's given you over the years, for all the wonders it's seen and heard and tasted and felt and smelled, for everywhere you've been, everyone you've met, everything you've learned, everything you've created. This is the divine impulse flowing through you into being, experiencing itself and its creation through you and as you. And so I know right now that that one presence fills this place. It prepares us for the wonderful memorial that is following the potluck, the vegetarian potluck for Janet. It fills this place now, opening our hearts and minds, bringing us guidance and healing and transformation, because this presence is wisdom, it's love, it's peace. And we are made from that. That is the very fabric of who we are. Right here under these hands, this physical expression is that divine energy that has been created as a body temple to serve, so that we and Spirit as us may experience all of this wonder, all of this beauty, all of this goodness. So I know for all of us right now that we are enough, that what we need to know is known right here within us. What we need to do is gently revealed. Whatever we need to release falls away from us now easily. And what it's time for us to welcome and let in is already coming in, and we are ready for it. We are grateful for it. We celebrate it with gratitude. We trust that it is tailored perfectly for us, and we accept this great good now with tremendous gratitude, not only for ourselves and our loved ones and our world and our universe, but right here in this room for every single one around us, and most particularly for this one housed in the body temple here underneath our hands. We let this prayer go now into the creative law of mind and spirit, where it is acted upon immediately. where it is already happening and in the mind of God has always been the truth about us. So we let this prayer go. We simply let it be. And together we say, and so it is. And so it is.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Ooh. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Ooh. You might say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. Imagine no possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. Ooh. You might say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. Thank you. For Christine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will the ushers please come forward? This is the conscious contribution time of the celebration of spirit here. If you're here for the first time, your presence here is enough of a gift, and so we thank you for that, and to come on back. If you're here with your partner, hold the gift in your hands. If you're here by yourself, just put it over your heart, and please repeat this. It's up on the screen. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one time at a time. And so it is. Would the ushers please collect the gifts?
As God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the light, and the love, and the glory, in the light, and the love, and the glory. In the light and the love and the glory I am. In the light and the love and the glory. In the light and the love and the glory. In the light and the love and the glory I am as God created me. In the light, in the love, in the glory. As God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, and the glory. In the light, and the love, and the glory. In the light, and the love, and the glory I am. In the light, and the love, and the glory. In the light, and the love, and the glory. In the light and the love and the glory I am. Woo, 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 woo. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love and the glory. God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, and the glory. In the light, and the love, and the glory. In the light, and the love, and the glory. One more time. In the light, and the love, and the glory.
In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory I am.
On behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, we all now together accept this offering with great gratitude. And we collectively know that as it is sent forth into the world, everywhere it goes until it turns to dust, it is blessing, healing, and bringing hearts and minds together everywhere it goes. And so it is. Whew. Okay. This has been a good morning, don't you think? All right. Oh, whoops. We are grateful for all of you who are here this morning. We are grateful for everybody who's been in service this morning and everybody who is going to be in service for Janet Carroll Ryan's memorial and the potluck following. I'm not going to name all of you, except I do want to specifically say Thank you to Carla Brown and Mary Cosgrove and the beloved angels and friends of Janet Carroll Ryan, who created this altar with Janet's things, and for Deborah Welsh, who brought this beautiful photograph of Janet, which is such an embodiment of her presence and her energy. So, ladies and friends, thank you so much for this beautiful altar today and all the life that it represents. Janet's memorial service is at 12:30. The potluck will begin after the service as soon as stuff is out here. And so, we'll begin right away. And then those of us that have to run around and set up tech stuff will do that and get that all ready. I want to let you know that next Sunday, Religious Science Quick Start is happening with Gail Durkin. Gail, would you stand up so they can see you? This happens over at the Learning Center. Happens over at the Learning Center in San Rafael. It is a great opportunity for new people and also for people who want a refresher to take an afternoon with Gail. She's one of our practitioners, absolutely delightful. It's a love offering and you'll have a great time. Also, yes? Oh yes, if you haven't signed up, would you please do that, because there are materials and we would like to make sure that there are enough materials for everyone. So over at the education table here, you'll be able to sign up for that. And you'll also be able to sign up for my class, which is starting in September, Cultivating Freedom and Enticing the Divine, a Practical Mysticism. It is a class that has the prerequisite of our Foundations or Beyond Limits class. But if you've taken one of those, then you can take this Practical Mysticism class with me on Tuesday nights beginning September 11th. And you can register also over at the education table. Women's Spirit Rising, the Women's Retreat, is coming up beginning mid-September. You can register online for that. And our annual Harvest Fair is happening on September 30th. We'll have the tables up here. Please bring your harvest, your flowers, your potted plants, and we're inviting you to do a special thing with your harvest this year, which is to bring a little 5x7 file card and write on it if this came from your garden, or if you have a favorite recipe you use with this particular harvest item, or some story about where it came from, or not at all. But we invite you to do that and to set it right there with your items. Then when the service is over, we invite people to take what they want, and it's a giving and receiving morning, so that'll be fun. This is our last Sunday for those of you who are Leos. Next Sunday we're going into the next zodiac sign. If you are a member here and your birthday falls in the Leo period, you get a free spiritual treatment, a spiritual mind treatment, spiritual checkup from one of our practitioners. There's a list with their names and contact over here at the practitioner table, and you can fill that out and get yourself ready for your free treatment. By the way, I'm guessing that you get your teeth cleaned at least once a year, that you take your car in for servicing. Why would you not let yourself have a spiritual checkup once a year? So if your birthday is happening in Leo, go and see these practitioners. And these four here are serving today, following the service. If you have any heaviness in your heart, sit with one of these practitioners. They will do a mini session for free for you. And you'll be greatly blessed by it. So please be sure and do that. They are our trained prayer practitioners. And finally, Reverend Carol Huntley, you may have noticed in our program, Reverend Carol Huntley Sadler is now shown as our Minister Emeritus in the program. And I just shared that with her yesterday, and she was just stunned. So she will be here to do Janet's memorial service. And so I want you to make sure and let her know how much you appreciate her as our Minister Emeritus, okay, when she's here. But she's taking a group to Greece mid-June. You can pick up a flyer back on the events table back there to find out more about that. And finally, if you brought donations this morning for Temenos for their upcoming auction, Reverend Dr. Barbara is at the back. And stand up, Barbara, so they can see you. And are you going to be back over there in that general area? You can find Barbara back there at that membership table and check in with her about the fundraiser they're doing next week. And any auction items that you have for her, she'll take them today. So that's what we have for the announcements this morning. Please stand and join me in the benediction and the closing song. Take hands with those lovely folks around you if you're comfortable doing so. And let's say this together. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God. And whoever places a hand in mine is lifted. And whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally. And so it is.
2, 3, 4. Choose to release every moment. Love wakes up and peace.